You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast, brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Business owners, entrepreneurs, and marketers who want to learn from someone with real life experience working with 40 plus brands, 10 plus industries. With us today is Joseph Alcantara. He's a seasoned global marketer, a brand builder, a strategist, and a storyteller. In addition, he's a passionate speaker, a writer, a podcaster, and volunteer for LGBTQ plus and BIPOC causes. Beyond all those fancy professional titles, he's simply a happy husband, intended gay dad, and curious student, life, and devoted son of God. Joseph, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Chris, for inviting me here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Absolutely. It was incredible being on your podcast. What you've done in terms of marketing and pushing me out there and all these other entrepreneurs, it is incredible to see. You do phenomenal work. I want to ask more about your entrepreneurial journey. Where did you first start learning all this stuff in marketing and business and working into what you are today? Tell me more about that.
Wow, how much time do we have?
45 minutes.
Well, I'm going to date myself, but let's backtrack 23 years ago when I started my marketing career because I graduated in the year 2000 and actually with a degree in applied economics. All the while, I thought that I'm going to be in Wall Street trading and earning lots of money. And of course, that did not happen. And I eventually fell into a great opportunity to do sales marketing back in the Philippines, where I was originally from. And then eventually that translated into brand marketing. And that's where I found my niche. I definitely fell in love with advertising, promotions, PR, communications. And that was even the time before social media. And then 2004 happened, Friendster, Facebook, and all the other social media platforms were brought to life. And then that's when I realized that, you know what, this is going to be my niche. I love communications, I love engagement, and I love the digital world. And from there, I also realized that I love to travel. So that gave me the perfect opportunity to then be expatriated. So from the Philippines, I moved to Jakarta in Indonesia, where I did advertising in an agency. And then after that, moved to Singapore, still working in an advertising agency. Then after that, moved to Dubai and stayed there for a good 9 years, where I learned the ropes of different industries from consumer goods, the airline industry, travel industry as well. And that honestly helped me build my portfolio when it comes to experience marketing in different facets, different aspects, and also being exposed to different cultures. That's where I met a lot of people with more than I would have to say 50 different nationalities. And from there, I realized how big the world is, that there are like a lot of differences and similarities that we can actually use on our everyday situation. That eventually also led me to meeting my now husband, and we decided to move here in the States where it is allowed for us to be accepted, for us to live freely as happy gay men. And now I am happily supporting the LGBTQ plus and BIPOC causes that also allows me to do purposeful marketing and having deeper sense of purpose and cause when it comes to pushing forward what I've learned in marketing, but what I also am very much passionate about and focused on, which is all about equality, diversity, inclusion, and belongingness. So long and short, that's pretty much the long-winded answer, but it's pretty much like the full gamut of 23 years of experience that now allows me to have my 9 to 5 as a full-fledged marketer, but also having my side hustle as a podcaster, as a speaker, as a writer, and someone who can mentor mentees who are very much interested in marketing.
That is fantastic. What a wealth of experience and just the opportunities that you were allowed, but you took advantage of. You went and actively sought to have that. You made those life changes. And we're happy to have you in the US. We need more people like you. So I'm glad that you can live freely and happily. In addition, with everything that you're doing, you do incredible podcasting, you do incredible brand building, storytelling, and everything that you do, it seems like it has a mission, a purpose. Yours is marketing with morals in some sort of summary. Why is that so important to you in a world where the craziness of marketing tries to manipulate us? Why should we have morals?
That will be the perfect segue when it comes to answering your question about marketing and morals, marketing with a deeper sense of purpose, and marketing with the real essence of what storytelling is all about. Because in the world right now we're in, folks, when it comes to looking at sales and marketing, they will only feel that we're here to sell products, make people buy something, whether they need it or not, and to earn a lot from people who are consumers. But to me, what I've realized is that brand building is very important. And at the heart of brand building would be us answering the question of the real purpose why such a product is created. Why is the product being produced? To whom are they targeted? And is it really giving a deeper sense of purpose and meaning for those end consumers? What is the why of that product? And why does that matter? And to me, keeping that as the number one priority, as the number one strategic direction when it comes to deciding whether to sell or market a product should be answered by the owner of the company, by the executive team, by the leadership team. And if those team members cannot answer that question, then we have a huge problem. And that for me is also what differentiates a product or a brand that's just there to sell versus a lasting, meaningful brand that can withstand the test of time. Because let's all admit it, and this is also my view, consumers do not just buy the products, they buy the reason why the products are being produced.
That is so important. Is this a shift in our culture, in consumer awareness that they want a reason to buy a product? Is this a shift we've had? Have people not always been this way, or were we just always kind of looking for a reason to purchase that product or just mindlessly buying things off Amazon?
I think consumers today are smarter. Consumers have evolved. And thanks to the technology, the democratization of information, people became more and more aware of what's around them. And beyond the basic need or the necessity, we have come to realize that we are smarter as people and we can smell if brands or manufacturers are simply there to sell to us and if we're being shortchanged with a service that is given to us. And I think that is a reason why we look beyond the need and the tangible offer and we ask the deeper sense of why. And we really cultivate that relationship with a manufacturer because brands are there not just as a logo, not just as a name, or not just an identity that's visually representative of a product, but there's a story behind that. There's a reputation behind the owner or the creator or the think tank of where the brand came from. And consumers right now have a stronger intentional relationship with the brands and the peoples who are creating these products. So I think it's a combination of that shift. And it's also a combination of having that closer relationship with the brands that we are seeing every day right now.
Absolutely. Thank you for that input because it's kind of interesting to see consumer behavior shift in how we make our purchase decisions. It's constantly changing and we need to stay ahead of the game, not to make more money, but to actually have impact and connect with our audience and provide solutions to their problems potentially. I'm worried that most board meetings are just a bunch of old white guys throwing money around saying, how do we get more of this stuff? And they're just swimming in the piles of money that they're enjoying. How can we support more cause oriented, more purposeful organizations? It seems that there's a lack of competition these days. How do we fully support the ones that are worth supporting?
Mm. I think the way you've described it, I just remember the scene in the Barbie movie, which is so true right now as well in a lot of organizations, especially public ones, because it's quite sad where everyone's just focusing on revenue, profit, lowering costs, and humans are just being seen as a head count and not really being prioritized. But there are exceptions. There are companies that start with a purpose. There are companies that look at the end consumer first before looking at all the numbers coming in and out. And I think as really smart consumers, it is our responsibility to do our research because it is easy to do the research now. amongst the different brands and companies that's out there. Public companies have public documentation that we can literally see. There are a lot of sources where we can read the stories of the creators of different products and brands. And we can like literally see case studies of how they've navigated journeys when it comes to product failures, product successes, how to manage cost cutting, how to manage the recent pandemic that really shook the economy and really became character building exercise for a lot of CEOs and brand owners and how they treated the end consumers, their staff, their partners, and the people supporting their organization. So my advice, let's do our research, let's be more intentional. And even if you're going to think that I'm just one consumer, if millions of consumers will be more mindful that way, we can make that huge difference.
I love having that purpose and wanting to make change. We're just one person, but the more we can collectively come together, we have much more power than we realize. Now, you're very intellectual, you have tons of experience, you run this mentorship. Tell me more about that opportunity. What types of mentorees do you usually work with? What are some of the problems that they come to you with? And then how do you solve those?
Right. So I'm part of a couple of nonprofits. It's the Asian in Advertising and NAP Boston. It's the National Association of Asian American Professionals. So both these organizations are focusing on people of color, specifically Asians and the Asians in advertising. So my mentee there is a young professional starting their career in the advertising space. Typically, the questions that I get would be, how can I progress and grow within a company? How do I get promoted? How do I learn? How do I stand out in a crowd? How do I overcome this imposter syndrome? Because I'm Asian, I'm a person of color, and the typical name of the game, sadly, sometimes still happening in this country is that certain race are being favored or certain genders are being favored as well. So those are the specific questions that I am getting, and I'm giving a bit of not really a direct advice, but more like the stories that I've encountered or the experiences that I've had in the past that they can probably use as a way for them to navigate that journey, because that's the whole essence of mentorship anyway. Same goes for NAP Boston. My mentee there is someone who is in their relatively senior role, who is looking at ways to pivot when it comes to looking at different directions, when it comes to where they can take their career growth and path at the moment and fulfilling more of their passion points. How to navigate through pitching your services to an organization, recrafting your resume, having a different type of elevator pitch when you meet someone, doing networking, for instance. So, along those lines, I'm also giving inputs on. And then the third organization that I'm supporting is Speak Out Boston. I'm one of their board members and speakers there, which now is focusing on the LGBTQ plus community. So every time we have engagements in different organizations or schools, faith communities, the questions will always be more along the lines of how to gain more awareness about the big binary of the LGBTQ plus community, as well as how to be an ally. Because a lot of people, especially here in America, are very much accepting and have realized the importance of diversity, especially on that space. And we even celebrate Pride Month every June. But then again, what happens after Pride? How do we make sure that it's not just a month that is being celebrated and also supported, but how do we practice that every day? So those are the questions that I can give answers to and give advice to, which ultimately at the end of the day, whenever I have these mentorship sessions and speaking engagement, it's not therapy, but it's very therapeutic to me and it's very much fulfilling. It's also a reverse mentorship type where I learn a lot from the people that I encounter, and the questions that they ask also fills me and, gives me more perspective in what everyone is going through.
It's pretty incredible to see your journey and everything that you've accomplished and how you help people. And I imagine there has to be even a little bit of imposter syndrome that you experience yourself at times where you feel like you are learning from other people, yet you're giving 99% of the guidance and direction that they need, but still learning every day. and marketing is ever evolving and changing. You've stayed ahead of the game. How do you stay on top of all these trends and things that constantly change to still stay ahead of the competition?
Two words. It's a combination of one, passion, and second is intention. Passion, because when you asked me earlier how I stumbled upon marketing, it's both by design and accident. But when I realized that I loved it, I really, really loved it. And if you love something, no matter how old or young you are in the game, you will always be curious and interested when it comes to the changes and developments of it. Remember when I earlier told you that I started my career, there was no social media. I did not study social media when I was in the university. But once it happened, I realized that I need to understand the dynamics around it and eventually embrace it. Me learning that back in 2004 was not a task, but I was really, really genuinely curious about it. And then even today, now that we have Instagram, we have podcasting, we have Spotify, we have YouTube, the TikTok, the reels, the shorts, and how to use that in performance marketing, I am very much interested and curious around it. So to me, intentionally learning it because I'm passionate about it is how I can keep up with everything that's happening right now. So it's a matter of finding ways in terms of understanding what you do not know and carving time, having the resources and reaching out to people who actually know how these work and not being ashamed despite your age or seniority to say that, hey, I don't know this. I want to learn more of this. So I think it's that allows us relatively older folks to still be part of the game and realize that learning should never end.
That's what it's all about. Now, because you have such a wealth of experience, are there different strategies or recommendations that you may have for listeners of the audience when it comes to either differences in the DTC, B2C, B2B? Is it the different channels? Do we want to be working on a different strategy? What would be your advice for people?
Mm. The way business models have evolved and changed were because of the changing times, the changing media landscape, and the changing lifestyle and behavior of people. Like DTC was very small before the pandemic. Thanks to the pandemic, Amazon grew so huge, and people have realized that brands can go directly to consumers. Instagram shop and TikTok shop, and going directly for people to buy from your website is so easy right now. Even if you're a small freelance creator, you can be an entrepreneur and you can reach out to a lot of audience globally right now. Where before it's more like a brand to consumer or business to consumer and finding a retailer or a wholesaler to sell your product. So you still need to have that middleman to reach the end consumer or the audience. And the B2B is more about the business to business, where it's a different industry altogether, where you're selling service via a business or to a business that will allow the manufacturing and also the creation of services for the end consumers. Or there's such a thing as well as B2B2C. So all these different business models and channels are actually very helpful when it comes to how we can best address the needs and the demands and to provide value for our end users and end consumers. And it's a matter of two things. One, finding where your art, your brand, your passion, and what you can offer would lie into these different models. And number two, of course, there's a business side to it where things will make sense for you when it comes to your profitability, your sales targets, and your capacity as you are starting. But the beauty of it right now is that you can be anything, anyone, anywhere, all the time. It's a matter of finding your niche, finding your strength, and what value you can provide to the consumers and the world, and choosing the right channel that will be right to be able to achieve.
I love that. It's a lot of great strategy behind the thought process into taking an idea and executing it and fulfilling it. That entire gamut, it's a challenge. Now, for anyone who is interested in your mentorship program, learning more about what you do, who you are, how you're helping people, where can they find you online?
Well, the best way is to check me out on LinkedIn. It's Joseph Alcantara. I think there are a few Joseph Alcantaras there, but just remember my face and probably you'll recognize me there. Or you can also definitely check out my podcast and my YouTube channel. It's Meaningful by Joseph. And my Instagram is also by Joseph Alcantara. Or if they would want to go directly via email, it's josephalcantara.meaningful@gmail.com. And I'm honestly in the process of building my personal brand website. It's coming very, very soon, hopefully next month. And I'm just going to share. It's going to be josephalcantara.com, but it's just under construction right now.
That is so cool and exciting. We will have all the links available down in the show notes, description, and comments available for you to have quick access to Joseph here. Now, what's on the horizon for you? What do you see in the next 1, 2, 3 to 5 years for yourself? You're starting to build your personal brand. What are your goals?
Professionally, I'm loving what I'm doing. Being able to work full time, 9 to 5, as a global brand marketing director, but still being able to do all those passion projects that I have, from podcasting to mentoring and volunteering. I will definitely still continue to do that. If there will be greater opportunities to do more engagements, keynotes in different organizations that will be benefiting from my story, I'll be happy to do that as well. But on the personal side, I am in the process of building a family with my husband. We're in the process of waiting for our surrogate. We have 4 beautiful embryos waiting for a surrogate. And hopefully, in 1 to 2 years, there will be little Josephs and little Ryans going around in our tiny home here. But I'm definitely just looking forward to building that family.
Oh, that's so amazing. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to have the little Josephs running around like brand awareness, marketing,
This will be a crazy household.
As soon as they're like 12 months old, first words were like brand awareness.
I remember that.
That's fantastic. Now, everything that you're doing for our entrepreneurs and audience out there, they love to find resources and podcast shows, books, things that they can learn from. Is there 1 or 2 podcast books or anything you would recommend to anyone who wants to learn more about marketing or branding or just really help level you up in your career?
I have two favorite podcasts that I listen to every single day or every single week. One is from Jay Shetty. His podcast is very holistic, not only for business, but for wellness in general. So do check that out. Second is Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO. He is like definitely giving a lot of insights, tips, and tricks. And coming from his interviews with different experts in different fields, definitely a go-to as well. Oh, and third one, it's Ali Abdal. It's a deep dive. It's all about productivity as well as entrepreneurship when it comes to how to start from zero to hero, as well as how to be a successful digital entrepreneur. So those three would be my top recommendations.
That's fantastic. I'll probably link those down as well in the show notes so people can check those out as well. Are there any tools or software or resources that you recommend for people to get to that next level or interested in dabbling in the branding, storytelling, and digital marketing landscape?
Sure. You know what? Definitely the easiest one that's free for everyone would be YouTube. Like all of the courses that you thought before you have to enroll and spend a lot of money on, you would see free content on YouTube. Just be careful and just make sure that you follow and use the right trusted, credible experts who are giving the masterclass, for example, or giving the courses. Second one, and I know this is going to be quite controversial, but Chat GPT is another AI tool that I am personally using. I have subscribed to Chat GPT 4.0 because you would like literally gain a lot from it. Like what's important though is you put in the right prompts so that you will have the right answers as well. And don't use it to plagiarize. Don't use it just for shortcut, but use it as a way to be more effective and efficient when it comes to your overall productivity. Another thing that I'll also probably recommend would be LinkedIn, especially that when it comes to networking as well as having free opportunity to meet new people who are probably having the same interest as you do. There are groups there of like minded community members that are very much focused on enriching and helping each other when it comes to their professional journey. So, those three.
Those are all extremely helpful. Is there any tips or tricks, anything else you want to leave our audience with about you, what you do, how you've been helping people? Any last words of wisdom?
Hmm. Stuff. No. I think it's all about, for me, how to live a meaningful life. Choosing your direction, being purposeful, being intentional, knowing your why and how you can give back to people by serving them using your gifts, using your talents, and your expertise. And I think if all of us, every single individual, because all of us are unique, will be able to share something to everyone free of charge, meaningfully, intentionally, with great empathy and compassion, then this world will definitely be way better than where we are today.
That's what it's all about. Now, I see a lot of the big players in the industry, the big fat cat board members, although they're in competition, they're all having meetings behind closed doors. And I'm sure they're also sharing tips and tricks and value and insight into what's going on. I think we need to be doing the same, help support the mom and pop, the minorities, the ones who are not early on in their journey. The more we can support each other, the more we can help build the future that we want that has the passion and meaning behind it. I'm so excited for the future and what we as people can accomplish together when we have the right passion and purpose. Joseph, thank you so much for all of your time and joining us today. So excited to see your journey and congratulations on all of your success. Really excited to follow your journey and see what the future holds for you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Chris. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you so much.